Hi there, I'm Michael Giblin with Fiddlershop.com and welcome to Michael Explains It All, the Prim Violin Strings edition. Now, there's no other models or brands or many different types of Prim strings, it's just Prim. But within that, there are three different tensions. There's light, or soft you might say, medium, and orchestra. And orchestra means heavy. So the short version of Michael Explains It All would be something like this, is that these are a steel core string, and so they have great projection, but they are kind of on the brighter side. So if you have a darker instrument that needs some brightening up, go for it. They're relatively cheap and or inexpensive, you might say, and so they're a good purchase. You can't really go wrong. Clarity-wise, they do have a bit of, they're a very nice balance of clarity versus fuzziness. And so that is the short version, but as you might suspect, I have much more to say, and to demonstrate what these strings sound like, I'm gonna get right to it. Here we go. All right, let's get to my tone grading graph, which is useful, but does make quantifying all these characteristics a little challenging. So to get things off, as I mentioned before, projection is great. Steel core string, chromium steel wound. They feel great in your hand, are gonna have that nice like strength, and they're not gonna wear out quickly at all. So great for students. Great for fiddle playing, which I have to pause for a second and do say that all this talk about strings are better for fiddle playing or strings are better for classical playing does kind of grind my gears a little bit, or I grind my gears a little bit on that, as if to say, what, like classical players don't want quick response, so therefore they should get a synthetic or get a string that doesn't respond very quickly? Like, no, come on. Fiddle players and classical, any kind of music you're playing, you're gonna want quick response. So I don't really buy into this a whole lot of like, oh, you're a fiddle player and therefore tone doesn't matter, so just get the cheapest, brightest set of, strings you can get and call it a day. Like, no, fiddle players also want a nice, developed and warm tone also. So there's no rhyme or reason to this, like, these are great for fiddle play, these are great for bluegrass playing, as opposed to, these which can only be played for the diamond members of the orchestra. Like, that stuff gets to me. Okay, anyways, I'm gonna move on with my tone grading wheel of fortune. Color, as I mentioned before, they're a bright set of strings. So if you have an instrument that leans darker, usually a lot of the Ming-Jiang-Zhu instruments, they lean a little bit darker. They need something to kind of brighten them up a little bit. On the contrary, I'm using the Fiddlerman Artist Violin. It's a pretty neutral violin. If anything, it might lean a little bit brighter. So these strings, I don't think are a good fit for this violin. You might have an artist that sounds different than mine, as they do. There's no saying that one string is the best string, period. It's all about what matches and what complements and what your personal preference is to matching a string set with your instrument. Moving right along, temperature, again, is a little bit leaning towards the cold side. And I know that color and temperature are very similar. In my own mind, if you want to really know what's going on in here, is that for me, color, I just sort of instinctually, I'm not sure I do it on purpose, but I hear that more as in the bass section, the G and D string, and temperature I hear a little bit more. It's just, you know, I'm just grabbing terms out of the air and as they come to me. Is that temperature is a little bit more in the treble side, the A and the E string, and what that feels like, because I get it that they are similar. Just deal with it, okay? Just deal with it. Couples therapy 101. Don't just ever say deal with it, okay? Nothing's good gonna happen from that. Depth, again, not blowing me away with anything really deep here. This. It's great power. There's great like response. It's got a great oomph to it, but it's just not this like really big deep sound. And so I graded it kind of harshly and on the thin side. Deal with it, okay? Response though is great. It's right there. Steel core strings in general respond very nicely and very quickly. And clarity, it does have a. Clarity is not necessarily like a 10 on the clarity chart. I don't think is actually that desirable. It's nice to have just a little bit of texture, some artifacts in the sound. It's all just, you know, how it fits in connection with all these other variables that I think determines a great string. And that's why it's, you know, it's nice that there are so many different variety of strings and tensions and stuff, is that you can play around and find something that really works for you. It might make life difficult though when you're, you know, trying to recommend a string to somebody else. It's like, you know, it's hard to say for sure. So basically, I'll play a couple back-to-back comparisons with other strings, but sort of in closing, I think they are a little bit milder, a little bit more refined sound than some of the other steel core strings, like preludes, helichords. They're a little bit, have just a little bit sweeterness than some of these more powerful projection, just like in your face kind of steel core strings. And in that sense, they are also like punchier. They have a little bit more a quicker response, a little bit more attention grabbing than like dominance or something. So it's nice that they are, you know, a more affordable set of strings that still sound really nice. So. Last thing I forgot to mention is that the E string is a removable ball end, and it's a little more difficult to remove the ball than a lot of strings, so I'll demonstrate how to do it here for you. And something else I was going to mention is that actually Fiddler Man, Pierre Holstein himself, was the concertmaster in Sweden, where Prim Violin Strings are made, and you know, he speaks fluent Swedish along with his wife and kids who also work here. And so just being in the office and being around them, occasionally speaking Swedish, I've picked up quite a bit of Swedish and would love to demonstrate for you how to remove the removable ball end of an E string in Swedish. Would you like to hear that? Great. First we begin at the loosen of the E string. You get the loosen the E string and then you pull it out of the tailpiece. You get it there, and then you get the chin is the key. You get the chin is the key, you don't have the chin is you can still use it, the paper the clip. You get the paper the clip, and then you get the chin is the key. Because you get the chin is the key, you put it into the bear, and then you just get it into the bear, and then the bear, you did it slowly, and then, and then, that's it. Well, thanks so much for watching Michael Explains It All, the Prim Violin Strings editions. We'll look forward to seeing you again at fiddlershop.com. All right, everybody, I hope that was helpful. If you want to learn more and purchase this product, you can do so by clicking right up here. We would also love it if you subscribe to our channel so we can keep in touch. You can do that by clicking right over here. And if you want to learn more about Fiddlershop in general and everything we do, just click right over here. Do it. You can do it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you at fiddlershop.com.